sort of goes into one thing I want to find out a little bit more about is when working with clients. Okay, so a client comes on board, you're going to start off all online endeavours start with really good keyword research, making sure that you're going for these greenfield opportunities, and also you want to probably have a look at their Google Analytics as well. Yep. What's the process there? So probably you start off by mining out as much of the keywords as you can from everywhere, or yes. How does it start for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing from a consultant's perspective, if we're talking about a consultancy role here, is a consultant has to get to know a market where potentially a client's been running for 5 or 10 years. And so I want to kind of know the lay of the land. So I might use Market Samurai just to go, okay, now I can tell you in the pet market, dogs are bigger than cats, and cats are bigger than birds, and birds are bigger than lizards, in terms of what people look for, what they spend money in, and that sort of high-level research you can do really quickly in a Market Samurai type thing. So if I'm talking to a client, if they're opening up if they're taking on a new project that's completely new, then we'll look at what opportunities exist out there. If they've got an existing site, I will basically go for, if you just do a site domain name for a client, you can often really quickly get them a whole bunch of quick wins by just looking at all of their pages and seeing where they've repeated title tags and they haven't put description tags in. Yeah. You can often go back in and in 6 to 8 hours, go in and just fix up their title tags and their description tags, and do it on a basis of a bit of research. And from a consultant's perspective, you look great because you're giving them a really quick win, and it's because what you're doing is you're tidying up the pre-existing assets that were already there.
Yeah.
If a client is wanting to take things a bit more seriously, I mean, ultimately, SEO is there's a million different questions that people ask you in SEO, but the answers are always the same set of answers. Like, there's only 3 things, in my opinion, that you can actually do in SEO. You can either get this page structure right, and so the page structuring, and there's a bit of art in that, your title tags, your description tags, your cross-linking of pages and those sorts of things. So you can do the structural stuff, and that's where a client needs help, because you're going to go in and typically do that for them. You can get them more links, or you can get them more content. It's either structure, links, content, structure, links, content. All the problems have one of those 3 answers as the answer, and I think actually the interesting one in those 3 is in many cases content. Because people will come to you and say, I've got this 10-page website. I really want to do well in the search engines, and you say, okay, well we can tweak the title tags and tweak the the structuring of that site up fine, and yet we can get some link building done, and Melbourne SEO Services is clearly a good player in that space. But the issue of content is often where people don't want to play, and one of the best ways you can help people is thinking creatively about content. So giving them the tools to create their own content, giving them looking at ways that they can use community for content, those sorts of things. So, and the other thing which people forget a lot is, I hear different numbers. I hear 40%, I hear 50%. I don't know the exact number, but a lot of searches are unique. There's the long tail of search, and so we've got a customer that's got I think 1.4 million pages, and they run a large directory, and they don't rank on your high premium 2-word kind of keywords that are really aggressive, but they get tens of thousands of visitors a day to their website because they just have so many pages. They get all the long tail, they get all the obscure stuff.
Yeah.
And so if you mentally say to yourself, okay, each time I put up a page on my website, what I've actually done is created an asset, and that asset might not give me a massive return this week, and it may not give me a massive return next week, but the asset that I put up today will still be feeding me in 5 years' time. And so if you just build out the asset day after day, and it's a combination of quantity and quality, if you just put up 200,000 pages full of auto-generated crap, you're not going to get anything. But I'm a big believer in just systematically producing assets.
I think someone who can read between the lines there, and those words spoke really clearly to me, the idea of making sure that you're building these assets. That's that age-old thing of not trading time for dollars, but rather building something that's got a long-term value there. So the client will come on board. The first thing, it's almost like you want to look for the lowest hanging fruit for them.
Yep.
So there's a few areas that you might look at. Typically, if they're starting a new website, then obviously you're going to go out and do the keyword research.
Yep.
If it's an existing website, how can we tweak combination of those 3 areas that you were talking about, links, content, and structure.
And so typically it's structure that I'll start off with.
Yeah.
So a couple of really low-hanging fruit that you can do for a brand new client is you can just go and type site : and look at their site, and what Google will do is essentially just give you all the pages of their site, but it basically does it in priority order. And so you just go through them, and if you see, like, if you ever go and do that and see the same title tag repeated on all of them, it's like all those pages are going after the one keyword. If you just go and put intelligent title tags, and I've done this on jobs, like I've seen this happen where all we did was went and spent 2 hours just putting intelligent title tags through the site, and it's like a really quick instant win. Now, you can't have those quick instant wins all the time, but that's a really easy one. And secondly, I mean, another thing that a lot of people run Google Analytics, a lot of people don't actually have goals set up in Google Analytics. So, you know, if we take on a consulting job and there's no decent stats package, and Google Analytics is a very good one for free, the first thing I'll do is put Google Analytics on.
Yeah.
I'll see what they're getting. I'll see which keywords are dropping, and I'll set up some goals for, you know, e-commerce or lead generation or whatever it is. I'll set up the tracking on it, and then I'll go, okay, lay of the land says you're actually doing really well on this keyword, and you're sitting at number 6.
Yeah.
Let's focus a little bit of juice on that, and let's get some quick wins. And then it's kind of like once you've extracted all the quick wins, then you come back, and the client, from a consulting perspective, the client has now got some faith in you that you're not an idiot, and that you're not, actually more importantly, you're not a charlatan. You're not trying to rip them off, because there's some dodgy players in the space. And then you can go back and say, okay, now we need a content strategy. Now we need a link building strategy.
Yeah. And at that point, you build something in where you go, okay, well, let's now try and generate some regular content. And I think that's a big thing that we find is, you know, a client like you were talking about who has those 10 pages, sometimes they're comparing apples to oranges, and they might be looking at their 10-page site, and then they might have a friend who has an e-commerce store who's driving, you know, tens of thousands of uniques, and they're like, you know,
why aren't I getting that?
That, exactly right. And you try and help them to understand that it's the volume of pages. Every page that you've got is another ticket in that search engine lottery. What are your thoughts on the way that let's say a small business owner should handle it? Let's say they haven't got an e-commerce store, they're a service provider. What are some ways, as far as you'd say, generating that content?
Well, let's talk about the way that I do it.
Yeah.
I have an application on my iPhone called Dictamus, and it's just a slightly better dictation app than the normal iPhone app, but the normal iPhone app would do it fine. And I am aware of this challenge, and so I go swimming 3 times a week, and it takes me 10 minutes to drive there. And so what I do is, when I'm swimming, I'm normally bored, so I'm swimming for half an hour, and on the way home I'll go, today I thought about X, and I'll just dictate it into my phone instead of listening to the radio for 10 minutes on the way home. And Dictamus lets you just email, I should say that word clearly, because I got it from your seminar.
Get yourself into trouble.
Yeah, it was good. I was using it on live. I actually got it from your seminar on the weekend. And I either hand it off to a PA or, you know, an EA or whatever it is that's going to do the write-up for you, and that's one way to generate content. Often what you'll do is, if you find that you're doing other things, you can talk about them. You'll find that it's sort of that creative mind map of going, okay, I've just observed that clients have this problem, and I could tell them how to fix that problem. Instead of just telling that client how to do it, I'm going to use the fact that I've just had to sit down and write a response to that client to say, here are 5 ways to solve X. I could, with a little bit of moulding, can repurpose that into content. And I don't think the production is so much the challenge as the mental shift to realise the value in content. To realise that each time you put up a page, what you're doing is saying, you know, for the next X number of years, as long as I've got this business, that content will work for me. We've got a client that I had to, you know, twist his arm for about 4 or 5 years. I've known the guy for years, and I've just recently got him to start publishing content. And he's added about another 30-40 pages to his website. And last month, those 30-40 pages brought him 100 unique visitors. And you've got to know, 100 unique visitors is not a lot of traffic at all. Like across an entire month, additional traffic, it was very low. And he needs a link building strategy, which we're kicking in at the moment. But when I rang him up, I said, you know what? The fantastic thing is, you're going to get that 100 visitors next month, and the month after, and the month after, and that content, it's like you multiply its effectiveness when you add links to it.
Yeah.
So he's only got half the equation. I said, don't be stressed. I said, keep producing the content, because we haven't added any links to it, and we're going to put links over the top. They'll multiply each other out, and you'll get benefit from that. And it's when you look back in 2 years' time, and you've got yourself your 500-page website that's generating a nice flow of leads every day, that your competitors look at you, and they're the ones now with the 10-page website, and they go, well, why haven't I got that lead volume?